Tonight, killer cop Roger Rogerson has died and taken some of the underworld's biggest secrets to his grave. A mother and daughter dragged from their car just seconds before it burst into flames in the Blue Mountains. A security car takes out a plane at Sydney Airport. Labor denies it's about to whack high-income earners by changing the Stage 3 tax cuts. Cricket Australia bats away criticism after taking a stand against Australia Day. And the teenage lifesaver who risked everything to save these boys on the northern beaches.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. Sydney's most notorious crooked cop, former Detective Sergeant Roger Rogerson, is dead. Once a hero of the police force, Rogerson fell into corruption and disgrace and was ultimately jailed for murder. He died in hospital last night at the age of 83, 3 days after suffering a stroke and leaving behind the mystery of at least 3 unsolved killings.
He's been labelled Australia's most corrupt cop, accused of not only taking money, but multiple lives as well.
Did you want her dead?
No.
Out of the way?
No.
Former Detective Roger Rogerson, dead at 83 of a brain aneurysm.
It was a lifetime of, in many cases, dishonour to the New South Wales Police Force. I don't have anything further to say about him.
He joined the police at 17, his early career celebrated, awarded, promoted, seemingly beyond anyone's control.
You cannot understate how powerful and a frightening man Rogerson was in the 70s and the 80s. He literally was king of this town in many, many ways.
His fame grew when he shot 2 Crims dead in the 70s, but it was the shooting of drug dealer Warren Lanfranchi that raised serious questions. From Lanfranchi's family, zero sympathy today.
A murderer, a drug dealer, and eventually proven to be a serial killer.
From his biographer,
Extraordinarily corrupt, extraordinarily violent, a multi-killer.
Claims he was not only behind the shooting of fellow cop Mick Drury for refusing a bribe, but a string of unsolved murders.
There are 3 crimes in which Roger is up to his armpits in.
Including Lynn Woodward, who testified on the Lanfranchi killing, hitman Christopher Dale Flannery, Mr. Rentakill, and, famously, Lanfranchi's girlfriend, Sally Ann Huckstep.
I'm not home by 6 o'clock, they've killed me.
He protested his innocence to the end.
Well, her body was pulled out of this pond. Did you have anything to do with her murder?
No, none whatsoever. Absolutely not.
The subject of endless coverage, documentaries, TV shows, books. Another juice soon from Neil Mercer, who says Rogerson's downfall was befriending the Crims he should have imprisoned.
He got incredibly close to those guys. It's pretty clear he got too close to them.
Dismissed from the force in '86, Rogerson would eventually serve 4 prison terms.
He's not guilty. I'm his mother, and I know he's not guilty.
His last, life for the bungled murder of drug dealer Jamie Gow. Every moment captured on CCTV, the dumped body floating back to the surface.
Chris, I wish I could explain it to you. I can't. I wish I could. It's inexplicable.
And even in death, Roger Rogerson faces further inquiries. First, a prison's investigation, then a coronial inquest. Both standard procedure for any inmate that dies in custody. But as for his criminal dealings,
on the advice of my lawyer, I'm saying nothing at this point of time.
Those secrets gone to the grave.
And Chris Reason joins me now. Chris, there was hope of jail cell confessions from Rogerson. Did police ever get anything from him?
Mark, not a word. Whatever crimes he committed, he never discussed or divulged. His condition had been deteriorating for some time and police had tried several times to negotiate a face-to-face meeting with him at Long Bay Jail, but Rogerson had apparently told them concisely and precisely what they could do with that notion. And as for any deathbed confession over the last few days that he's been in Prince of Wales Hospital, where his aneurysm had left him unconscious, and there was never, Mark, a chance of that happening.
Some legacy. Chris, thank you. Brave witnesses have saved the lives of a woman and her daughter following a fiery head-on crash in the Blue Mountains. The family's car burst into flames after colliding with a truck, other drivers running towards the danger to drag them to safety.
As this car burned on the side of the Great Western Highway, a driver and her daughter were trapped inside.
Just a massive bang. It honestly sounded like an explosion.
Their Hyundai hit a truck head-on, careering into bushland and bursting into flames around 6:30 this morning. It caused traffic chaos, but it was those stuck in the gridlock who saved their lives.
I was just driving. I didn't see the accident. I just helped the best way that I could.
This woman, one of several drivers who ran towards the inferno. She dragged the girl to safety as Will Hicko and his colleagues worked to free the driver.
We had to smash the windows and pull her out. Everyone helped. Our friends, they found fire extinguishers and yeah.
Both the woman and the young girl suffered serious burns and were taken to hospital. The truck driver wasn't hurt, but went to hospital too for drug and alcohol testing.
There's no indicators at the current moment that would suggest anything other than a crash.
Critical to this investigation will be video from the truck's dash camera. Police believe it captured the entire crash and are now working to download the footage. As those in the right place at the right time come to terms with what could have been. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
There has been a tragic accident at a waterfall in the Blue Mountains. A man fell to his death at Minnehaha Falls, just north of Katoomba. Police and paramedics treated him for critical injuries. However, he could not be saved. It's believed he was with a group of friends who'd walked to the falls, a popular destination for bushwalkers and sightseers. There has been a bizarre crash at Sydney Airport involving a jet and a ute. While flights have been affected, no passengers have been injured. Let's go live to Evan Batten now. Evan, how did the crash occur?
Good evening, Mark. Yeah, you'd be forgiven for wondering how on earth this happened. How did this ute slam into the engine of an Airbus run by Jetstar making its way to Adelaide? It was around 5:30 this morning, we're told. Now, this plane fortunately had no passengers on board. It was, in fact, being towed at the time. The ute was being driven by a security contractor with Sydney Airport. Now, the Jetstar flight was due to run a number of stops today, so it did have quite an impact on a number of passengers who had to make their way onto other flights. There were some delays, but now, Mark, the focus for investigators is on working out how the driver didn't manage to see this rather large aircraft.
OK, Evan Batten at Sydney Airport, thank you. A man is in a critical condition after a hit-run crash in Sydney southwest. He was found unconscious in the middle of Bringelly Road in Rossmore early this morning with head and chest injuries. Police are now hoping to speak to the drivers of these two vehicles seen in the area around the time of the crash. The Prime Minister says low and middle income earners will be the priority when Labor MPs meet in Canberra on Wednesday for cost of living crisis talks. It's only added to speculation Anthony Albanese could ditch tax cuts for Australians on higher incomes.
For David and Lynn Cooper, every trip to the shops is like a slap in the face.
You don't get much for your money now.
Nah. Like many Australians, they're having to go without.
It's hard to get by.
Labor MPs told to get to Canberra on Wednesday for urgent cost of living talks. But there's no shortage of ideas what they could be doing to help.
Petrol's a big one.
The cost for rent. That's one of the biggest issues.
The Prime Minister confirming caucus will discuss new advice from Treasury with low and middle income earners to benefit most.
If we can find ways to put extra dollars in people's pockets, then we're prepared to do so.
But the opposition claims it will cost $500,000 to get the MPs and their staff to the capital, just 2 weeks before Parliament resumes for the year.
I mean, this is not about a cost of living issue, it's about a political Academy Award issue where you can have the cameras rolling as they walk in.
Even if it is that amount of money, I think that's money well spent when it comes to providing the cost of living relief that Australians are demanding.
While more energy bill subsidies are likely, the government's hosing down speculation it's about to alter the Stage 3 tax cuts by reining in rebates for those on more than $180,000 a year. It's also being urged to dump tax breaks for property investors. Advocates argue negative gearing and capital gains concessions are propping up the private rental market and inflating the cost of housing.
Take action on these tax handouts and make housing more affordable for everybody.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
A man has been helped off train tracks at Merrylands. 2 other men jumped down to rescue him around 7:30 last night. They managed to lift him to safety with the help of others on the platform. Police say the man has suffered a mental health episode. It's been called an engineering marvel, which will help move thousands of passengers every hour when Sydney's new airport opens. But while a key section of the Luddenham Viaduct has been finished, critics claim other parts of the airport plan are in trouble.
Lowered into place piece by piece, more than 300 concrete segments connected like Lego to form a key part of the Western Sydney Airport Metro line.
Luddenham Metro Viaduct is an engineering marvel.
The 23-kilometre line connecting St Mary's to the new airport and the world, transporting travellers and workers through the new city of Bradfield in just minutes.
This transport line will move 7,700 passengers per hour in each direction.
This will be the site of Luddenham Station, set to open its doors to passengers in just 2 years. But while work on the metro is on track, as for the rest of the Aerotropolis, much of it is still a paddock. With critics believing other critical infrastructure has been forgotten.
What we need is that key roads infrastructure as well as water and sewage systems built.
Leaving DAs hanging in the balance and prompting fears private development and thousands of jobs will go elsewhere.
We've got to keep an eye on it.
With the opposition pointing to a $3 billion funding drop in transport infrastructure spend in the year after the airport opens.
I don't know how you deliver more with less money.
But the Premier is confident it won't ground the Aerotropolis before it even takes off. Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
Work will start tomorrow to remove asbestos contamination from Rozelle Parklands. All recycled mulch will be taken away after 17 positive samples of bonded asbestos were found. Once the site is cleared, new organic mulch will be laid.
It will be replaced by new organic product, and users of the park can be reassured they have the safest possible materials underneath their feet.
It's expected most of the parkland will open in April. Cricket Australia has weighed in on the debate over the date of our national holiday, sparking fierce differences of opinion. Officials are leaving out the term Australia Day during the Gabba test on January the 26th.
When politics and sport collide.
The vast majority of Australians want Australia Day.
We need to stop looking for areas in which we can be outraged.
Cricket Australia won't use the term Australia Day during the Gabba test against the West Indies. Day 2 falls on the public holiday, set to be marked in passing by the ground announcer.
I think it's a way of, again, showing respect to go out there, play cricket. It's the 26th of January. And that's all we sort of see it as.
Much like the day itself, the decision has divided opinion.
I'm totally in support of it. I think Australia Day is more like Invasion Day, to be honest.
Personally, I don't agree with that. I think, it's Australia Day. It's, you want to play cricket, but to keep the politics out of cricket.
New South Wales Premier Chris Minns hopes authorities will rethink the decision.
If it's not being recognised in cricket and in tennis, I think a lot of people would be asking why not, and it's probably a bit of a head scratcher for a lot of people tuning in from around the world.
Cricket Australia says they want to acknowledge the day means different things to different people, encouraging all to enjoy the cricket while being inclusive and respectful of each other.
Stadium officials warn while clothing supporting competing nations is fine, racist, political, insightful or insulting clothing is not. Sally Geit, 7 News.
The company at the centre of the crippling ports dispute has revealed the backlog of shipping containers has now grown to more than 54,000. Representatives of DP World faced a parliamentary inquiry today, saying businesses and consumers are facing long delays for goods.
We estimate that it will take between 2 to 8 weeks for those containers to get to their destination of choice.
The company claims the pay dispute is costing the economy $84 million a week. Donald Trump has now vanquished all but one of his Republican challengers, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ending his run for the White House. And despite being ridiculed for years by the former president, he's now thrown his support behind Trump.
once seen as his party's only hope of a future beyond Donald Trump.
We don't have a clear path to victory.
Today, Ron DeSantis' presidential dreams ended.
Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign.
Dropping out before New Hampshire voters have their say on Tuesday.
I just want to thank Ron and congratulate him on doing a very good job.
Leaving Nikki Haley as Trump's only challenger.
One fella and one lady left.
DeSantis throwing his weight now behind the polls.
Trump is superior to the current incumbent. He has my endorsement.
That's despite enduring years of Trump abuse.
Ron DeSanctimonious. I said that name is officially retired.
There were 14 people in this race, and now there are 2. I'm going to finish this.
2 days from now, we're going to win New Hampshire, and then we're going to defeat crooked Joe Biden.
Before Donald Trump even gets to the polls in New Hampshire, the Republican Party frontrunner will be here in this New York City courthouse. In just a few hours' time, the former president is expected to give evidence in a defamation trial involving a woman he was found liable of sexually assaulting.
We have every kind of case you could have. This is weaponization. This is election interference.
In New York City, David Woywood, 7 News.
There's a grim milestone in the Middle East with the Hamas-run health ministry claiming 25,000 people have now died in Israel's campaign in the Gaza Strip. Israel continues to carry out airstrikes as it seeks to free hostages still being held by Hamas in tunnels beneath the Palestinian territory. And the Israeli military has released new video of what it says are strikes on Hezbollah positions in Lebanon. A 16-year-old girl who's a lifesaver on the northern beaches is being hailed a hero tonight for braving wild weekend surf to save 3 boys. Today, a man was pulled from the water at Maroubra, another life saved, during a summer that has proven so deadly.
A man wheeled away, overwhelmed by dangerous surf at Maroubra. He almost drowned. 7 News was at lifesaving headquarters when the call came through.
All right, we'll get the lifeguards on that.
He was unconscious, but crews were quick.
Good to hear. CPR successful, transporting in the lifeguard buddy.
Yesterday, these 3 teenage boys diced with death at the Warriewood blowhole, ending up stuck in a cave. 16-year-old Saskia Rundle-Trowbridge was the lifesaver who braved wild waters to save them.
Unfortunately, we couldn't get the boat close enough to pick them up because of the rough seas, so I ended up having to jump in with a rescue tube.
After some stern words, she brought them all back.
Conditions were quite rough, and it was my first ever sort of boat rescue.
Now a national hero.
Yeah, not really. It was just a normal day, you know.
Lifesavers and lifeguards are becoming more and more stretched along the coastline.
Yesterday alone, there were 389 rescues as people flocked to beaches. A man drowning at Macaulay's Beach north of Bulli, the 12th drowning this summer.
Lifesaving crews bracing for many more rescues this week. There's a heatwave forecast on Thursday and on Australia Day on Friday.
People are 2 times more likely to drown on a public holiday than any other day of the year.
Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
The clean-up and repairs are continuing after last night's southerly buster ripped through Sydney. Trees and power lines were brought down across the city, with one lucky escape at Randwick, a driver missed being hit by seconds. The change hit a top speed of 80 kilometres an hour at around 11 last night. The SES was called out to 76 jobs across the metro region. Luckily, there have been no reported injuries. North Queensland will be hit by a tropical cyclone on Thursday, with winds of 120 kilometres an hour and widespread flooding. Currently sitting as a low off the coast, Cyclone Kirrily is expected to form early tomorrow before crossing onto the coast 2 days later. It's already triggered panic buying, with many supermarket shelves now stripped of essentials. Now for more weather details, Angie Asimus is here. Angie, that change really cooled things down.
Oh, didn't it, Mark? A sharp drop in temperature today from tops nudging 40 yesterday to this, 25 degrees in our west and 25 in the CBD too. The relief was very coastal. Inland intense heat is still taking a toll. 43 degrees was the top at Moree today. 38 at Tamworth and 35 for Lismore. We haven't seen the last of the heatwave conditions here in Sydney either. A hot air mass is again building across the inland over the coming days, then spreading east for Thursday and Friday, with temperatures again expected to hit the mid to high 30s. In the meantime, we can look towards another cooler, cloudy day tomorrow. Your full Tuesday forecast coming up soon, Mark.
See you then, Angie. Thank you. Sydney property prices are in for a big shake-up. Next, the latest extraordinary prediction for houses and apartments and new hope for first home buyers. A new financial hit for the city's hospital workers, why they're about to pay for parking. The vital evidence Curtly Beale will rely on during his sexual assault trial. Sarah Ferguson's cancer shock, more worrying news for the Duchess of York. And later, how families are banding together to buy in bulk and cut costs. Welcome back. Many hospital workers are angry because they'll soon have to pay for parking. From next month, the state government is scrapping free parking for healthcare staff at 16 metropolitan hospitals, a measure introduced during the pandemic.
There's just not enough car parking spaces for those that do an amazing job in our public hospitals. I'm very sorry for that, but there's no way around it.
It will mean more car parking spaces will become available for patients. Good news and bad today for those trying to grab a foothold on Sydney's property ladder. The good, house prices appear to be coming off the boil, but because they're more affordable, home units are taking off, tipped to climb 23% over the next 3 years.
This Baulkham Hills apartment has only been on the market for a few days, and already
we've had some serious offers and interest over the weekend.
Although when it comes to the outlook this year,
we do see momentum slowing. We have seen a pickup in stock coming to market, so that is easing competition.
But that's not expected to last.
We are anticipating rate cuts from the end of this year.
And that should help the market gain momentum. In the 3 years from last June, Sydney's median house price is expected to rise about 12%. But units could increase by almost double that, nearly 23%. That's because when the city's median house price sits at nearly $1.6 million, units like this don't come cheap, but they are cheaper.
We've seen a lot of first home buyers come through.
Younger households looking to escape higher rents, in part maybe with the support of mum and dad.
Jumping by 10% since last year, Sydney's median rent is still the highest in the country at $745 a week.
Supply is also struggling to keep up with demand, with a national shortfall of nearly 100,000 homes this year, blowing out to 145,000 by 2026.
Just another challenge to realising the great Australian dream of home ownership. Amy Clements, 7 News.
Lawyers for former Wallaby star and accused rapist Curtly Beale say security video to be played during his trial is in contrast to the woman's allegations. The 35-year-old denies he preyed on the woman inside a Bondi Beach pub in December 2022. His alleged victim will begin her evidence tomorrow. The trial is expected to run for 2 weeks. The Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, has now been diagnosed with skin cancer. She's undergoing more tests, but it's thought to be aggressive and comes just 6 months after she discovered she had breast cancer.
After spending Christmas at Sandringham with the royal family, her first in more than 30 years, the Duchess declared on New Year's Eve that she was cancer-free. Now this.
We have just learnt that Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, has been diagnosed with malignant melanoma.
Here we are just 3 weeks later and she has a new cancer battle on her hands.
Her surgeon removed several moles during breast reconstruction surgery after a mastectomy. One was a deadly and aggressive melanoma.
This would have been particularly distressing.
Her battle with breast cancer has been painful and very public.
It wasn't a lump. I had a shadow. It was like a splat.
Suffering the same mental anguish that around 20,000 Australian women are forced to confront every year.
Oh my goodness, I've got to have a mastectomy. And you look it up and it's all so terrifying and this is what's going to happen. And then I'm not going to see my grandchildren grow up.
Of this latest diagnosis, a spokesperson says the Duchess remains in good spirits, but it's distressing. And her message, no doubt, remains the same.
Please go get your screening. Please.
In London, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Arson squad detectives are on the hunt in Sydney's southwest. Firebugs have lit a series of bushfires. Next, why police fear it's only a matter of time before houses and lives are lost. A volcanic eruption threatens entire villages in Indonesia. A church outing for Denmark's newly minted King and Queen. Why unions have launched a new campaign for casual workers to be made permanent.
And ahead in sport, exclusive details on a hospital scare for Aussie cricket star Glenn Maxwell.
Welcome back. Police are on the hunt for firebugs responsible for lighting several bushfires in Sydney's southwest. Last night, one came dangerously close to homes, and authorities fear it's only a matter of time before property or lives are lost.
It doesn't get much closer than this. Burning behind the back fence, a bushfire believed to have been deliberately lit.
A fire started.
It was very, very scary and it was very close to us.
It was at Simo's Beach, Macquarie Fields, just before 8 p.m. When crews arrived, 7 spot fires were burning. The first step, fighting fire with fire.
Our decision to put in a tactical backburn came from if weather conditions were to worsen, that these properties would be protected.
It burned right up to Angel Turner's home.
You could see it shoot all the way up the trees.
She hid inside, but prepared to leave if the wind picked up.
The scariest part is that it came up so quickly. I was preparing a bag, even though my mum said, no, we should be okay. The firefighters said it's fine, there's no wind, we're okay.
Firefighters were back today putting out spot fires, while police and investigators try to track down those responsible. More hot and dry conditions are forecast for later this week, and that has firefighters extremely concerned. They say another deliberately lit fire like this could be incredibly dangerous.
We do have concerns if there are firebugs in the area.
Bill Hogan, 7 News.
Indonesia's Mount Merapi has erupted, forcing thousands of people to flee from their homes on the slopes of the volcano. Lava has travelled up to 2 kilometres from the volcano's rim, and ash has blanketed several villages on the densely populated island of Java. Mount Merapi is Indonesia's most active volcano. Russian authorities say at least 25 people have died in a Ukrainian artillery attack on the city of Donetsk in the occupied region of eastern Ukraine. The city's Russian-installed mayor claims the shells landed close to shops and a market. There has been no comment from Ukraine. Denmark's King Frederik and Queen Mary have attended a special church service at Aarhus Cathedral. The new King and Queen were joined by their 4 children. It was Frederik's first official visit as king outside the capital, Copenhagen. New figures show almost 500,000 casual workers are struggling to transition into full-time jobs. Unions say on average they're paid less, with employers unwilling to make them permanent because of the cost.
Unable to apply for a rental property without permanent employment, Zach Fitzpatrick is living at home with his parents, stuck on a casual contract.
If you don't have permanent employment, it's very hard to find anyone that would be willing to kind of take you. There's no guarantee of work, obviously.
He's not alone. New data from the Bureau of Statistics reveals that of the 2.7 million casual workers nationwide, 500,000 who on average earn nearly $12 less an hour would prefer to be permanent.
5% only of them have been able to get their jobs turned into permanent jobs. This is a crisis.
In 2021, the Morrison government changed the definition of casual. Employees unable to apply for permanent work for 12 months.
They like the flexibility, they like the casual loading. They make arrangements with their employers that work for them.
I guess employers see it as a greater expense to have permanent workers is a cheaper way and more flexible.
This year, the Albanese government is hoping to pass industrial relations legislation so workers can request permanent employment after 6 months instead of 12.
It means you've got a right to go to the independent arbitrator if it gets knocked back.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
A high-powered car and excess speed next, the shocking end to a driver's recklessness on a suburban street. Why some famous faces are pushing for dads to have more quality time with their babies.
And soon in sport, some NRL drama. Adam Reynolds rushed from training as clubs fear a Vegas debacle.
For 40 years, Mark Ferguson has been part of our lives.
So many people have to start all over again.
For most of our lives, he's been reporting to you.
They are hopeful that there are still people alive.
Through the big moments.
Tonight, Israel is at war.
Through the tough moments.
It really does bring home what you went through.
And the ones when we all come together.
History making for the Matildas.
He's dedicated 40 years to serving Sydney.
Bringing the news home every night is a privilege.
And every night, Mark Ferguson brings that lifetime of experience to 7 News.
Welcome back. A high-power BMW has become airborne, flipping several times in a terrifying crash in Melbourne's southeast. Security video shows the moment the driver lost control, his car obliterating a tree. It's believed the driver was hooning, drifting sideways in the moments before the crash. Incredibly, no one was hurt. The driver remains on the run. An exclusive golf club on the North Shore is planning a townhouse development for seniors. Castle Cove Country Club says it's the only way it can remain financially viable. It's planning a $33.6 million development for 17 units and a new clubhouse. Castle Cove, which has existed for 80 years, is struggling with falling membership. Some famous Aussie fathers have joined a campaign demanding better paid parental leave for new dads. They say taking the financial heat off families would make it easier for men to be more involved in their youngsters' lives from the very beginning.
He's a familiar face to many kids, but Simon Price's most important role is being a father to his own.
It's ever-changing. You think you got it sorted, but you don't. It changes again.
He's banding together with other Wiggles and David McCormack, the voice of this very well-known dad.
You're the best dad in the world!
Really?
Yeah!
Calling for more support for all dads.
It's a problem in the sense that we haven't actually done enough in this space.
The Dads Alliance wants 12 weeks paid parental leave for fathers, allowing men to be more present and active in their kids' lives during the important early years.
It's deliberately designed to make sure that they participate.
They'd like to see an overhaul of childcare too, not exceeding $10 a day.
High quality early education and care for our children doesn't exist at the moment. We need that.
Within the early learning sector, less than 3% of workers are men. Advocates say the importance of male educators shouldn't be underestimated when it comes to a child's development.
Male educators sometimes bring a slightly different way of interacting with children, allowing that rough and tumble play that young children, thrive on.
The caring patterns that are set in the first year of a child's life persist over the course of their life.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
Time now for a check on the markets with Angela Cox. Ange, the Aussie share market started the week strongly.
Yes, Mark, 9 of our 11 sectors finished in the green. The ASX 200 closed 55 points higher. Tech and financial stocks jumped, so did the major banks. A tougher day for commodity stocks. Lithium shares were down across the board, but Liontown Resources really tanked. One Aussie dollar is buying just under 66 US cents. Iron ore prices slid. And China remained Australia's biggest customer for exports last financial year, up 13%, followed by Japan, South Korea, USA and India. Together, they take 63% of our exports. Mark?
Ange, thank you. One of the biggest hits from the cost of living crunch is at the supermarket checkout. There is a way to drastically cut grocery bills, but it needs a group of family or friends to band together and buy in bulk. The new way to save. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News. But now Matt is here with Sport. And Matt, there's trouble for Glenn Maxwell.
Yeah, the Big Show's had another mishap, Fergo. Good evening. He's out of the one-day team after a big night gone wrong. Cricket Australia's explanation. Plus, Khawaja cleared next. Also, devastation for Alex de Minaur, who thinks he's blown a shot at Australian Open glory. And the big future brother-in-law who's become Taylor Swift's third wheel in football's great love story.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, Sydney's weight loss drug war. The new challenger entering the market, promising the most effective results.
And Beat the Bowser in 2024, the new way to find the cheapest petrol near you. See you in the morning.
The Australian Open started with such hope for Alex de Minaur and ended in devastation. The quarterfinals are taking shape in Melbourne. Two-time champ Victoria Azarenka was ousted by a qualifier. Australia's hopes of a first men's champion in 48 years were dashed, along with the Demon.
Pain and heartbreak for the one that got away.
I'm sitting here and I'm absolutely devastated because I saw it as a great opportunity and a match that I strongly believe I could have won.
It's clear to see why. Alex de Minaur's rarely been better.
He got it. Oh, yeah. Around the net. Turn on the jets on the shoes.
Throwing everything at Andrei Rublev, up 2-1. All it did was fire up the red-headed hothead.
The pressure cooker steaming, isn't it?
Not a match that I thought I lost physically. It was just that the racket was taken out of my hand.
The fifth seed dominating the last two sets, setting tongues wagging back in Russia. Into a third Oz Open quarter-final against Jannik Sinner, ending Australia's last chance.
Thank you for ruining every Australian's hope that we're going to have a Grand Slam champion. Thank you.
De Minaur's first, still out of reach.
Maybe in the past I would have been somewhat content with the fourth round, but I thought I had more in me.
A day off for the defending champs, two-time winner Victoria Azarenka stunned by qualifier Diana Yastremska.
Because my heart, I feel it's like gonna jump out of my body.
The Ukrainian refusing to shake her Belarusian opponent's hand, facing Czech teen Linda Noskova in the last 8, after Alina Svitolina retired hurt. James Manton, 7 News.
Cricket Australia say a boozy night gone wrong has nothing to do with Glenn Maxwell's removal from the one-day squad. The World Cup star played a golf day in Adelaide on Friday before moving on to a gig by Brett Lee's band Six It Out. Some Australian Test players were also there, but they'd left before an ambulance was called to take Maxwell to hospital. Maxwell is expected to be fine. Selectors say he's being managed and has been replaced by Jake Fraser-McGurk for 3 one-dayers against the West Indies. Usman Khawaja will play Thursday's pink ball test against the West Indies after passing final concussion test today. They're on cyclone watch in Queensland and hoping ground staff can tame the Gabba's green monster. Last summer's South Africa test ended inside 2 days with a red ball.
With the pink ball as well, there's other conditions that come into it. The lights come on, it swings around, there could be some overheads.
Batting for Victoria's second 11 today, one Test prodigy Will Pucovski was struck in the head. He was later cleared to resume, a huge relief due to his awful concussion history. Before Wednesday night's Big Bash Grand Final, the Sixers re-signed Jack Edwards for 3 years, hyped as the next big thing and now finding confidence at age 23.
You know, proud of the way I've got myself back into the team and you know, being able to contribute to some wins has been very pleasing.
Tonight it's the Challenger, the Heat and the Strikers. The winner faces the Sixers at the SCG on Wednesday night. A big worry for the Broncos today, with captain Adam Reynolds injuring his ankle at training and driven straight off for scans. Their Vegas season opener is only 41 days away. Teammates aren't too concerned about their 33-year-old halfback.
I think it was an ankle, but I don't know, he might just be old.
That's the 21-year-old Man Mountain named Xavier Willison, back from 2 ACL injuries. The 4 clubs playing in Vegas have sought urgent clarification from Peter V'landys over costs, training grounds and even visa rules for entering the US. The Diamonds overcame England and a hostile London crowd to win a World Cup final rematch in netball's Nations Cup. Trailing by 2 in the final quarter, Australia just held their nerve to win 61-59.
We got overawed by the crowd and the emotion and the I guess, perceived pressure. So for us, it's about sticking to our game plan.
They have a 6-day break before facing Uganda. Liverpool thrashed Bournemouth 4-0 to open up a 5-point gap on top of the Premier League. Ollie McBurney's penalty in the 13th minute of stoppage time was the latest ever goal, 2-2 for Sheffield United with West Ham. Once mocked as perennial losers, the Detroit Lions are 1 win from their first Super Bowl. 31-23 over the Buccaneers. They'll face the 49ers in their first NFC Championship game in 32 years. Football's greatest love story goes on, and now Travis Kelce's brother Jason is crashing Taylor Swift's party.
Oh, there's his brother, says right on, that's Jason.
Kansas City beat Buffalo to reach their 6th straight AFC Championship game. Taylor and the newly retired Jason can cheer on Travis's Chiefs in Baltimore next week. And imagine being a 20-year-old amateur turning up to a PGA Tour event, including the world #1, then going on to shoot 29 under par and winning it by a shot. That's Nick Dunlap today, the first amateur winner on tour since Phil Mickelson 33 years ago.
It is so cool to be out here and experience this as an amateur, and I've learned so much today, and I'm so grateful to be here.
He wasn't eligible for the $2.3 million prize, and for now it is back to college. I hope Taylor Swift brings those Kelsey brothers with her on the Australian tour, Fergo. Be fun.
It would be fun, wouldn't it? Eh? He's in fine shape, that fella. He's doing well. Thanks, Matt. The biggest worry for many Aussie families right now is having enough food to feed their families. Grocery bills are tipped to rise again this year, but buying in bulk can save you thousands.
For many families, the grocery bill is biting into the budget more and more. But there is a way buying big can save thousands.
We can save sort of anywhere between 10 and 30%, I think, with a lot of them, which is great.
Mums Rachel Blythe and Simone Evans take it in turns to bulk buy food online every fortnight, then divide it up between their families.
Majority of that sort of aisle in the supermarket that's filled with the school snacks you can buy and save money on.
It's a growing trend sparked by the cost of living crisis. On average, Aussie families spend almost $10,000 a year on groceries, and food prices are tipped to rise again in 2024 by around 1.5%.
Shoppers can save up to 10 to 50%, which, in real terms equates to hundreds to thousands of dollars a year.
The most popular groceries to buy in bulk are lunchbox fillers, including muesli bars, rice cakes and chips, along with coffee, almond milk and sports drinks, and household essentials like dishwasher tablets.
There should be more transparency on fair prices for food this year. The two major supermarkets are on notice as the watchdog investigates allegations of price gouging, and there's a separate review underway into the Grocery Code of Conduct.
Apps like Frugal and Wiselist can make that easier by allowing shoppers to compare prices across thousands of stores instantly. Christy Mayer, 7 News.
Now Angie's back with the forecast. Ange, there's another round of heat on the way.
Looks that way, Mark. A couple of manageable days to come first, but before the week is out, Sydney will be sweltering again. Details next.
Tonight's 7 News headlines. Police have failed to get any deathbed confessions from corrupt cop Rogerson, who has now died. Witnesses have saved a mother and child from a fiery crash in the Blue Mountains. A man has died after falling down the Minnehaha waterfall near Katoomba. And a teenage lifesaver says she was just doing her job when she saved 3 boys from the Warriewood blowhole. Now here's Angie with the latest on Sydney's weather.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's been a very different day across Sydney. Cool and cloudy after yesterday's extreme heat. The top was 25 degrees late this afternoon in the CBD, 9 down on yesterday thanks to that gusty southerly buster that arrived overnight. Those winds reached 80 kilometres per hour on the harbour and at the airport, as well as bringing milder conditions. The change has also been a grey one with some light drizzle at times. Tops hovered around the mid-20s for most. Taking a look at the satellite, a trough over northeastern New South Wales continues to move away towards Queensland with a cool southerly airstream in its wake, bringing those milder temperatures. Meanwhile, a tropical low sits off the Townsville coast, expected to intensify into a cyclone late tomorrow. A ridge is building across the ACT and the rest of New South Wales, extending from a high-pressure system south of Tasmania. That ridge will cause another belt of heat to develop across the inland over the next few days. By the middle of the week, temperatures will be right back up into the high 30s for parts of Sydney, with heatwave warnings in place. Around the capitals tomorrow, it is looking grey in the east. Brisbane, 29 degrees for a maximum. Canberra, 25. Hobart aiming for 20. Melbourne to see a bit more sunshine and a top of 29. And the sunshine and hot weather return to Adelaide, 41 degrees. Statewide cloudy with some scattered showers along the coast and adjacent ranges. Hot, dry and sunny in the west. 40 degrees for Moree, 38 at Coonamble, 35 on the way for Griffith, with below average tops along the coast. 25 degrees at Port Macquarie and 22 expected at Batemans Bay. For the metro region, another grey day. The outside chance of a morning shower. Winds tending east to southeasterly. Tops again in the mid-20s. A little bit cooler at Bondi and Cronulla with 23 degrees and Katoomba expecting 20. On the water, much lighter conditions. East southeasterlies to reach 15 knots, then shifting east northeasterly in the evening. The CBD tomorrow, milder again, cloudy with a top of 26 degrees, winds shifting from the southeast to the northeast by evening. For the rest of the week, there's more heat on the way. Tops back in the 30s for Wednesday, extreme heat again for Thursday, and the public holiday on Friday, also a scorcher, 34 degrees in the CBD to reach 38 in our west with late showers. It is looking much cooler from a Saturday onwards, but certainly enjoy that milder change tomorrow. The heat is on the way back, Mark.
Will do, Angie. Thank you. That is 7 News for this Monday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening. I'm Mark Ferguson from all the team. I hope you have a great night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.